walk, work, woke, wok. Are you ready to learn to pronounce these words correctly? Hello, this is Sam and welcome to Logic, where I help English learners and teachers improve their English by analysing its logical and mathematical patterns. Today we're going to talk about 4 sounds that are often mispronounced and mixed up. And for a more detailed analysis of English pronunciation, please feel free to check my video over here. And now, let's get started. We will study these sounds with this sentence, which I know is absurd, but for the purposes of the lesson, it works a treat. When we talk about pronunciation, we need to remember that we talk about sounds, not letters, and this is an essential concept to bear in mind, especially in English, where the pronunciation of a word hardly ever matches its spelling. What is interesting about these 4 words is that although they are spelled very differently from each other, in terms of pronunciation, they all start with the same sound w, and they all end with the same sound k. The only thing that changes is the sounds in the middle, which give us a completely different meaning every time. The way we say this sentence is, in my last job, after I woke up, I'd walk to work carrying a wok. And now, let's analyse every single sound independently. Let's start from walk, where we notice that the L is completely silent. The sound contained in this word is O. What you see here is the vowel grid, which is a representation of your mouth and where in the mouth you produce vowel sounds in British English. O is a long mid-back sound, which means that your jaw is more or less at its natural openness. The back of your tongue goes up, which causes your lips to be rounded. O. O. As you can hear, this is not an open sound. We don't want ah, we want O, which is more or less the sound that Santa Claus would make. Santa Claus wouldn't say Merry Christmas, he would say, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Saying puts pressure on the palate over here, as if someone were pulling you up with a string. What you want to do is make the sound deep and go down. O. And a mental image that helps some student is imagining that you are pushing your Adam's apple down with your voice. O. Let's have a look at some spelling combinations that can give us this sound in British English. We have final O-R-E, bore, more, often O-R, not preceded by W, order, pork, often W-A-R, war, warm, often A-L, not as final letters, although, already, talk, O-O-R, door, pour, and some other combinations such as taught, thought, water, abroad. What is interesting to see is that in British English, the sounds pour can give you 4 different words. We have someone with no money, to pour water. A pore is one of the holes in your skin, and paw is the hand of an animal. Saw can give you S-A-W, which is the past of see, but also an object that we use to cut a tree with. It gives you S-O-R-A, which means to go up into the sky very quickly, like an eagle. And I can also have a sore throat, so a throat which is inflamed. Raw can be something that is not cooked, or the sound of a lion. Flaw can be where we walk, or a mistake, a defect. Bored is a surface, but also when you're not excited. The simple sound or on its own can mean OR, but also the feeling of admiration for someone, and one of the 2 instruments that you use to move a boat. Sauce can be a substance that you put on food and the origin of something. Please do remember that we're studying British English. In American English, most of these words would be pronounced completely differently. For example, the 2 words that are pronounced as floor in British would be pronounced as floor and flour in American. The next word is work, which contains the long sound where technically your mouth is slightly open, the center of the tongue goes up, and your lips are flat. It's basically the sound that you make when you see something disgusting. I personally believe that there are a lot of variations of this sound, and I actually prefer thinking of it as having a flat tongue. It's a very relaxed sound. The variations I'm going to give you now are my own personal observations. I think we have a more formal, sophisticated, posh version of the sound with no pressure at all. Work. We have a younger version where the mouth is slightly more open and there is a little bit more pressure. Work. And I think there is a version that mainly girls use where they put a little bit of extra pressure on it. Work. And you can hear this very clearly when Emma Watson speaks in Harry Potter. The option that we use also depends on the context. Personally, I tend to use the option with the least amount of pressure, work. But if something hurts me, I wouldn't say that hurt. I would say that hurt because it helps convey a little bit more emotion and emphasis. We always find this sound in the combinations IR, ER, UR plus consonant in stressed syllables. So technically the words bird, nerd, and burn could be spelled with any of these combinations. The combinations ER and UR plus a second R don't give you hurry, berry, unless they come from a verb that ends in a sound and it doubles the consonant for suffixes. For example, prefer, preferred, occur, occurred, with the sound W and the letters OR. Word, work, world. ER and UR plus consonant in unstressed syllables can either give you or the weak sound We say personality with but we don't say pursuit, perform. We say pursuit, perform. We also have other combinations: heard, earn, learn, journey, kernel, were. And it's very important to remember that the letter A or AR plus consonant never give you the sound For example, in card, we have R, not The sound in WOK is a very short, open back rounded sound, meaning that your mouth is very open, the back of your tongue goes up, and the lips are rounded. We say What's really important to remember is that a deeper version of this short sound doesn't exist in English on its own. A lot of foreigners would say wuk, but the sound O only exists in English in the diphthong oi, as in boy. This sound never appears at the end of a word, but we find it with the letter O in three-letter words: pot, top, and if it's followed by two consonants, but not R, long, cost. We have Australia, sausage, cough, acknowledge. We find it with the letter A after the sounds qu, spelt as QU, quality, squash, and with the letter A after the sound W when the sound is short, swan, what, watch. The word woke contains a diphthong, which is a combination of two sounds. The British version combines the very relaxed sound with the sound oo, which is a closed back sound, meaning that your mouth is very closed, the back of your tongue goes up, and the lips curl forward. And the transition goes oo, oh, oh. Oh. There is also an American version of this sound which substitutes the sound at the beginning for o, where the jaw drops a little, and this combination actually tends to be easier for foreigners to reproduce. Whether you decide to use the British version, O, or the American version, O, we still understand, it doesn't matter. But what is fundamentally important to remember is to curl the lips for the second sound, oo. What most foreigners forget to do is this second step of the sound. So instead of producing the diphthong O, they give something like O, where there is only one sound. And this can hinder the conversation because we may not understand what you're saying, or we may understand something completely different. Despite what I've just said, there is actually one more version of this sound in British English, and it's more formal, slightly posher, where the lips don't actually move on the U sound. And this is the version that I personally use when I speak. I don't really say go, go, with the rounded lips for the U. I say go, go, go. Although my lips are not moving much, I still manage to give the U sound by raising the back of my tongue. You don't have to do this sound this way. I actually suggest you do it this standard version because it's much easier to control, because you can tell your brain to move your lips forward and that will automatically give you the U sound. But it's just important for you to know that both versions exist. This sound often appears with the letter O in two-syllable words with the final silent E. Cope, note, bone, often with OW in final position. Below, no, show, OA, approach, coast, with the letter O before a consonant cluster, which is a combination of two consonants together. Post, ghost. But if we have OL and another consonant, the L sound becomes dark, pronounced as L. And in British English, it's very hard for us to pronounce the diphthong as O. So we choose a more American version of it, and we say O, cold, sold, gold. Saying cold, sold is very posh, very sophisticated, and not very common. We have mould, shoulder, soul, dough, furlough, although, oh, brooch, go, no. The sounds so give you three completely different words. We have the most famous one, which is SO, but also SEW, which means to make clothes, and SOW, which means to plant seeds into soil. Now I want to play a little game. Just like walk, wəʊk and wok have all the same sounds except for those that we've studied, I want to find other combinations of words that have exactly the same sounds except for these. We will only focus on the sounds O, and O because doesn't really work with this game. So here is a list of words that we're going to analyze. And this will help us understand that if we use the wrong sound in a conversation, the other person might understand something completely different. We have, for example, raw and row. Raw means not cooked or the sound of a lion, and row is a sequence. If we keep the sounds n, t, and change the ones in the middle, we get naught, note, not. We have bought, boat. So we have to say yesterday I bought a boat and not yesterday I bought a boat. Court, coat, cot. Road, road, rod. When we say the sounds saw and so, a lot of words are involved, and we need to say when I saw him he was so happy to see me, and not when I saw him he was so happy to see me. It's very interesting to think about the pronunciation of the opposite of yes, which is no, with a diphthong O, because a lot of foreigners would say no, 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 and in our head we understand gnaw, spelled G-N-A-W, which means the way a rodent, like a rat or a mouse, eats, like that. And if something gnaws at you, for example, a bad feeling, a bad emotion, it means that it kills you from the inside. You can say that you were so angry that your anger was gnawing at you. We have won't, want, shall, show, and the very important difference between cork, coke, and cock, which can lead to a lot of difficult situations and misunderstandings. The verb is to go with the diphthong o, because if I hear a foreign or, I understand go, which means something like a horror film with a lot of blood and very visual images. One last difference is between pause, which can mean 4 words, pose, and pos, which is a short way to say positive. And that's it for today. I really hope I've managed to make these 4 very difficult sounds a little bit clearer for you. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe to my channel down below. And please let me know in the comments if you have any difficulties with any other sounds that you would like me to cover. And I will see you next week with my next video.